Hey, what's up, guys? Sniper Nick here with the Sniper team. Hope you guys are having a good Tuesday so far. So tonight, we're going to dive into our watch list like we do every Tuesday night. If you're new, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us. We get together every Tuesday night and we go over our watch list for Wednesday morning. The purpose for this watch list is so that you can have a preparation of a couple stocks, because these penny stocks are really fast moving. And there's so many moving throughout the day that it could get confusing. Also, when you're sniping these penny stocks, there's key points where you want to snipe. And at these key points is when the action happens, where you'll see with our snipe that we made today when we dive in. And so it's important to be prepped and ready as these stocks move fast. And that's why sit back at the end of the day, and while the market's closed, while everything's settled, we look at the hot stocks throughout the day, and then we also look at the underdog stocks. A few ones where we have to do the research. We get in there, do the grit. Everyone who plays sports, you know how that grit is. Get in there, get into the grind, and you get dirty. And a lot of the times that could pay off big. The play that we played, that we're going to talk about in this watch list, that's still on the watch list overnight, we ended up closing out $600 in 10 minutes. $600, no need to hold overnight. I'm going to go ahead and let that lead us in to the watch list. And it's always awesome to have these documented so you can go back and see some of the former ones that spiked back in the day, so that when you see it heating up again, you can be one of the first to it. So let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's talk about it. This is our watch list tab. And once you have a login, you'll be able to access this by going to this watch list tab at the top of our website here. And once you're in, it's going to show you the list of our watch list. Like I said, we write a watch list every night. We get together here as a group every Tuesday night. We'll dive in for tomorrow morning, Wednesday, October 30th. All right, so here's Wednesday's list. And what we'll do is we'll start from the top and then we'll go down the list. The first one we're gonna talk about, this is the one we made the money off of. Let's go, baby. This is the one that allowed us to profit $630 in 10 minutes. So that was huge. That was big for us. We had 2 wins for this week. So it's nice to be up on the week right now. ALPP, as you can see, it's an OTC play that popped into our scope at an ideal spot and time, and we were able to snipe it for $630 profit in that 10 minutes because it started to move when we sniped it. It was a great buy. When getting into these stocks as a day trader, the buy spot is key. ALPP came on the radar when it broke over the 8-cent alert this morning. If you haven't seen the alert video, we have one in our YouTube tips. The high of year was 0.0843, so it's just 5% off that. The fact that it's close to the breakout, you gotta keep it on high alert. First things first, I always like looking at it from the 1 year. That's usually the first chart that I like to look at. I'm gonna zoom out here for ALPP. We're gonna look at the 1 year and we're gonna see what's going on from the macro perspective. That multi-month resistance like we were talking about, that was also the high of the year. Because you don't count this because there's really no volume. So this was the high of the year over here. And the fact that it got so close in the morning on that morning push kept it high on the radar. And you got to keep that on high alert too, especially with these OTC plays. After it did top out of that 835, it dipped and created support midday. And then at 1240, it ended up popping over its year high, getting a high day spike and getting a 10% plus spike to 9.8 at 218. From 11 to 1, you won't see us typically playing those high a day breaks, and a lot of the times that ends up working out because it allows you to paint the picture more. Just like sitting in front of an artist and you're watching them paint, you don't know what they're thinking about or what they're talking about at the beginning, what they're drawing at the beginning, but as it goes on and on, further and further and closer to the end of the painting or the end of the day in the stock size, then you're going to get more of a better picture of the painting. I like to use that analogy to talk about the way that we trade. ALPP, even though it broke out and we wanted to get in early, we were able to stay patient, and like I said, it came back down to that spot and we were able to buy it on a dip. And so now let's dive into the 1 day, 1 minute, and let's talk about where we bought it and where we sold it. We'll go through an in-depth trade review. We'll throw it here. We'll put it on the YouTube channel. We were able to record this, so we'll go an in-depth recording of it. And so this will just be a brief overview. We were able to grab it right here. As you can see, it made that high a year midday, right here at 1240. It ends up creeping up and uptrending slowly, but it does get that nice push, and now you're up here at 9.7, and it finally tops out. So finally at 9.7, you get a top out, and it gets that dip that we've been waiting for. And so we end up buying it over here on that dip, and we took it right here before it spiked. It ended up getting volume and some uptrending, and bam, it breaks the high of day and gets a nasty spike, or unbelievable spike, and we're able to sell into that spike and we have put in a limit at 11.5, and it took us on this bounce right here. And that was it. That was that play. That's how we made the 600. It did close right around where we sold it, and it is looking nice. If you are still holding this, it's looking nice overnight. I would just recommend using 10-2 as your final cut or your final risk spot. However, if it does gap up, this is a 52-week breakout. It's an OTC 52-week breakout. If it does gap up, we could see some buying and you could see some potential, but you want to make sure you cover up into those buyers. Don't get greedy. Big shout out to some people in the team and people in the chat that grabbed this. Saw that Jack made 1K intraday. That's strong money. So that's that. That's ALPP. We're going to keep an eye to see if it can continue over that 12 tomorrow. The next play, REEMF, REEMF. This is an OTC play that had a first green day with good volume, and it's approaching multi-month resistance of 48. So let's see what we're talking about. Another OTC play. Check out the 1 year. You could see that clear 48 resistance that we're talking about, and it topped out there a couple times. So it's clear. That resistance is clear. That's going to be a sweet spot. This one, REEMF, hasn't been doing much, but you see some volume creep in finally. Doesn't have any news or anything, so pretty interesting. But volume does creep in, and it gets a spike up to that 48 spot, and that's actually where it tops out at the day. As you can see in the watch list, we said it topped out at 47.9, which makes that 48-cent spot even juicier now. So it even has more resistance now. Let's see. It's holding 40% gains into close. It's nice to see. Let's see if it could hold the 40s in the morning, hold those gains in the morning. We'll be watching to see if it can build back up to that 48 spot with volume, because there was a lot of sellers on the ask there at between 47 and 48 today. Just couldn't break past that spot. 48 is the key spot. If we can get there with volume, let's see what can happen with REEMF here. You got some 41 support. Let's see, it's good risk reward. That's what it's about, finding that good risk reward. ISEE. This is a play that we are actually in. So surprise, surprise. Another cool one to talk about, ISEE. This is some live in action trading that you're gonna be able to see. And actually, I think it's trading after hours, so we might be able to see where we're even at. All right, so it's still trading around where it closed. But let's talk about this ISEE. I'm gonna zoom out on this one too, and we'll talk about it from the 1 year first. ISEE, this is a listed 52-week breakout that lined up with the spot we're looking for on the watch list this morning. All right, wow. So this one lined up perfectly with the watch list from last night, and it reached that spot from the watch list we were talking about last night. So after this video, if you want to go ahead and check out the watch list from yesterday, check out what we said with ISEE. It lined up with that spot, and we were able to get it in the afternoon. In Power Hour, it looks like we end up buying 1,500 shares at 204 for an overnight swing. Again, guys, talking about the watch list, we have a good group here. We have a good group digitally that gets together. However, there is a small percentage checking that watch list, so make sure you get on it. Show some love for us there. We see who's going on it. Anyway, let's go back to this ISEE. It broke out of its 2-day high of 198 at 352. So at the end of the day, it's been creeping up the whole day, and it broke out of that 2-day high at the end of the day after it's been creeping and holding support throughout the day. So you see shorts couldn't win here. Shorts couldn't get the crack and ended up squeezing up to 225. So from 195 to 225, you get a quick 30-second squeeze so quickly, and that's what's beautiful about the stocks that we watch. For our play, however, we missed that initial spike, and we were able to grab it on its dip. So we grabbed it after it came back and it dipped down. We put in a limit at 204, and it came and grabbed us right at 204. We got a bounce for the last 3 minutes and ended up closing right at 215, going to 220 after hours. However, right now it's sizzling around 210. So we'll see tomorrow. Since it did bounce, we are going to now use that 203 spot as our cut. So we're really not risking anything anymore. And you really want to just find those odds where you have big rewards with this little risk. So we'll be watching in the morning. Like we were saying in the watch list, pre-market should be telling as the momentum could pick up if it's holding that 1 year high. $2 is the long-term support. All right, the next two we're going to talk about, these are listed stocks as well. And I'll bring them up side to side because they relate with each other. These are two low float listed stocks, SES and BIMI. And BIMI is a sympathy play of SES. So if you're new to trading, sympathy play means that it follows another position. It follows another play. And the reason Bimmy's following SES is because they spiked very similar back in mid-October. They spiked together. And in mid-October, Bimmy also a sympathy play. It was a low float sympathy play, and this is when a couple low floats were spiking. When SES comes back into the scene, it's nice to see Bimmy come back into the scene. And it was pretty funny because Bimmy's intraday spike was a little bit later. So if you caught SES and you're watching the run-up, you'll be able to see that a little bit later on. Bimmy made the same move, but just a little delayed. So you could have capitalized on that move with Bimmy as well. And sometimes it's easy as keeping up with these plays by being in the chat and stuff like that, and being able to find the sympathy like that and being quick on it. So let me show you exactly what I mean by diving into each one of these plays. On the left side is SES, on the right side is Bimmy. And these morning is what I'm talking about. Made that low float spike and made that light spike in the morning, came down and then bounced, and then at 10:17 and made that high a day and pushed all the way to 840. So very nice. Over here, let's see when this bounce came in. Makes the light volume trickle, dip, and then the bounce comes in. Wow, this one actually comes in at 10:26 is when it comes back to test the highs of days, and this one ends up going to 5:30. So the sympathies usually don't have as good as of spikes, but they're good to keep an eye on because this one didn't spike as much. So if Bimmy could get the volume tomorrow, this could be, who knows, maybe it could be a big spiker. It did hold 480 support. That's also the VWAP. So we'll keep an eye on this. It's only up 12%. It is a super low float play. Both of these are under 2 mil float. So we'll keep an eye. We're going to be keeping an eye on both. Like we said on the watch list for potential continuations. As you can see, the high of Bimmy is 537 and the high of SES is 840. So keep an eye on those. SES, very nice gain from the 6 when the volume was really starting to come in and that support formed at 6 to that 840 high by 10:30. Huge opportunity. Lastly, guys, I'm going to wrap it up by this wildcard one. I always like to include one of the wildcard ones, and it's a sub-penny play, which means it's not even worth a penny, this stock. It's literally a penny, like cut in half. Well, in this case, cut in ninths, and we have 9/10 of it if you buy a share of this. But this is EXLA, our last one from the list. As you can see, it's the OTC sub-penny. We're watching to see if it can get back into penny land. Super close to that 1 cent spot. And the fact that the resistance today is 0.0094 means that it's not far off of that 1 cent spot. So if it gets over that 0.0094 spot, it'll be interesting to see if it could test that 1 cent spot. And then we'll ultimately be watching to see if it can get back up to this 0.118 spot, which is the high of year. But if the volume could get into these sub-penny plays, these ones could get wild. We've seen a lot of these ones become multi-day runners. One of the classic ones is SHMP from back in the day, shrimp. A lot of the crew remembers that. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you picked up some tips. Hope you picked up some tickers. Make sure you throw them on the watch list. If you like what we got going on, slam the subscribe button. We get together every Tuesday. Like to see you guys. Submit a comment, whatever. Much love, guys, from the Sniper team. Sniper Nick is out. We'll see you guys in the chat tomorrow morning for Wednesday. See you guys.